So good morning, good afternoon. Hope you all are doing well. We're going to start today on our science lesson, part 1, about controls and variables. At this point, you should have a sheet of paper that has front and back to it. It's got some stories. I know they're kind of silly about SpongeBob and his Bikini Bottom pals who are doing some research, but these are kind of a different way to look at aspects of scientific research that isn't quite so dependent upon real boring data. Okay, so today let's look at the first one, Paddy Power. I'm going to read you the story, then we're going to go over the questions and make sure that you get the answers done correctly today. You'll be doing something similar to this on Friday. Just want to make sure that we're getting it as we keep moving through this material. So let's look at the first story. Paddy Power. Mr. Krabs wants to make Bikini Bottoms a nicer place to live, and he's created a new sauce that he thinks will reduce the production of body gas associated with eating Krabby Patties from Krusty Krab. So evidently the Krusty Krab is a restaurant that serves some kind of food that makes people fart, or makes these characters fart. So Mr. Krabs recruits 100 customers with a history of gas problems. He has 50 of them, which are Group A, eat Krabby Patties with a new sauce that he's trying out, and the other 50, Group B, eat Krabby Patties with sauce that looks just like the new sauce, but it's really just a mixture of mayonnaise and food coloring. Both groups were told that they were getting the sauce that would reduce gas production. 2 hours after eating the Krabby Patties, 30 customers in Group A report having fewer gas problems, and 8 customers in Group B reported having fewer gas problems. So our questions to answer are, which people are in the control group? What is the independent variable? What is the dependent variable? What should Mr. Krabs' conclusion be? And why do you think 8 people in Group B actually reported feeling better? So let's look at the answers. First of all, I want you to fill these in as we go along. The people that are in the control group are the people in Group B. Now we know that they're the control group because they did not receive the new sauce. They received just a plain old mayonnaise-based sauce, right? So they didn't get the new thing. That means they were used to compare, right, to the other people. What's the independent variable? The independent variable is the new sauce. So you want to be sure that you fill in that the new sauce is the independent variable because that's what was being tested. Your independent variable is always the factor that's being tested. And what is the dependent variable? Now, before you say it was the other sauce, that's not quite correct. The people eating the other sauce were in the control group because they weren't trying the new sauce. But remember, what they're trying to reduce is the production of gas. So the dependent variable is the amount of gas produced by the people specifically in Group A. Now, it's interesting that the Group B people, some people in that group reported feeling better as well, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So what should Mr. Krabs' conclusion be? So make sure you're caught up to this point. The dependent variable is the amount of gas produced by the people in Group A. And the fourth question says, what should his conclusion be? That the new sauce appears to work because 60% of the people, that's the people in Group A, felt better. They had less gas produced when they were eating the new sauce. Now the last question, why do you think the 8 people in Group B reported feeling better? And the answer to that is that they thought that they were getting the new sauce, right? So when you run an experiment like this and you don't let people know what they're getting, whether they're in the control group or they're in the experimental group, sometimes you get something that's referred to as the placebo effect. So that's what they had here, was the placebo effect. Everyone knew that there was a test being done and they thought they may have gotten the experimental one. So placebo means it's being affected by your own thoughts. It's not being affected by the drug or the medicine, or in this case, the sauce, because they didn't get it. Okay, so I'm going to stop the screen right here for just a second and let you finish. All right, let's go to case number 2, and the name of this case is slimatosis. So case number 2 says, SpongeBob notices that his pal Gary is suffering from slimatosis, which occurs when the shell develops a nasty slime and gives off a horrible odor. His friend Patrick tells him that rubbing seaweed on the shell is the perfect cure, while Sandy says that drinking Dr. Kelp will be a better cure. SpongeBob decides to test this cure by rubbing Gary with seaweed for 1 week and then having him drink Dr. Kelp. After a week of treatment, the slime is gone and Gary's shell smells better. So what was the initial observation? What is the independent variable? What is the dependent variable? And what should SpongeBob's conclusion be? So remember that the independent variable is the thing that's being tested. The dependent variable is basically what happens when you do the testing. What are the results? In other words, what's the effect of the treatment? And then the initial observation was, of course, that Gary stunk and he had this stuff on his shell. And then what should SpongeBob's conclusion be when it's all over? So let's answer the first question first. What was the initial observation? It was slimatosis on Gary's shell. And is that a real thing? The answer is no. Remember, on Monday I had you make up some words. Well, this would be a word that's made up. Slimatosis would be a condition of slime, because that's what osis means. It means a condition, okay? The independent variable. Now, actually, there are 2 independent variables in this, right? Because in the story, it says that Patrick tells him to rub seaweed on the shell, and Sandy tells him to have Gary drink Dr. Kelp. So he did both, right? So the independent variables are the possible cures for Gary's shell problem. My nose is itching. I got nosatosis, I think. All right, so he did both of these things for Gary, and after a week, it looked like that things were better, right? His shell smells better. So the dependent variable is getting rid of the slime and the odor, because that was what he wanted to do, was to get rid of this condition that was bothering Gary. Now let's think a minute about what his conclusion should be. Does he know for sure what caused this condition to get better? And the answer is, I don't know how he could, because he had 2 different things he was testing at the same time. So this is what I would suggest putting down for a conclusion. SpongeBob should realize that he cannot be sure if it took both cures, and I realize the picture's in the way a little bit, but I can't move it. He didn't know if it took both cures to get rid of the slimatosis. His experiment was flawed, basically, because you can't run an experiment with 2 independent variables. You run one experiment with one variable, you run another experiment with the second variable. So what he would need to do, if he really wanted to know what worked, he would need to, the next time Gary gets this, if this is a recurring problem, what he would need to do is try the seaweed, and if that didn't work, try that for 1 week. If that didn't work, then have him drink, what was it called, Dr. Kelp, for a week. If that didn't work, then maybe it is the combination of both of those. But right now, he can't be sure why Gary got better. And it may have just been a function of time. Who knows, maybe slimatosis gets better on its own. You just have to wait it out, like a cold, right? Okay, so let's go to the next one. Let me scroll down here on my other computer screen so I can find it. And this one, next one is called marshmallow mussels. And you have a little bit of data that goes along with this one. Larry was told that a certain muscle cream was the newest thing on the market and claims to double a person's muscle power when used as part of a muscle building workout. Interested in this product, he buys the special muscle cream and recruits Patrick and SpongeBob to help him with an experiment. Larry develops a special marshmallow weightlifting program for Patrick and SpongeBob, and he meets with them once every day for a period of 2 weeks and keeps track of their results. Before each session, Patrick's arms and back are lathered in the muscle cream, while SpongeBob's arms and back are lathered with regular lotion. Okay, so the questions are, which person is in the control group? What is the independent variable? What is the dependent variable? And what should Gary's conclusion be? So let's look and see. It says the initial amount of time Gary could lift 18 marshmallows. SpongeBob could lift 5, because this is, weightlifting. After 1 week, Patrick could lift 24 marshmallows. SpongeBob could lift 9. After 2 weeks, Patrick could lift 33 marshmallows and SpongeBob could lift 17. Now there's some different ways you can look at this. For example, you could look at it and say, yeah, Patrick was able to lift a whole lot more after 2 weeks than he could before. But if you look at SpongeBob's, he could as well. And SpongeBob, over that period of 2 weeks, more than tripled the amount of weight marshmallows that he could lift. Patrick did not. He didn't even double the amount of weight that he could lift. So I'm not sure, I'm not sure what to think of these results, but let's look at the questions and answer those. So which person is in the control group? Control person is SpongeBob, because SpongeBob is not using the special muscle, what does it say? Muscle building workout at Muscle Cream. He didn't get all of that. He did the workout, but he just used regular lotion. It's probably nice and smooth skin, right? All right, independent variable. So what was being tested? That's the independent variable, and what was being tested was the muscle cream. So the muscle cream was being tested to see if it produced, what does it say it was supposed to do? The newest thing on the market claims to double a person's muscle power when used as part of the muscle building workout. Remember, Patrick's didn't double. SpongeBob's more than tripled. Patrick's did not double. If his had doubled, it would not have been 33 marshmallows, it would have been 36. He got close, but he didn't get double the results, right? The dependent variable then would be the amount of weight, in other words, the marshmallows that were lifted. So what should Larry conclude from this? Can he conclusively say that this is an effective addition to a workout? I don't know that he can. It didn't deliver on its promise to double the amount of weight that Patrick could lift, right? Patrick was lifting 18 before. He got all the way up to 33, but he would have had to get to 36 in order for his to double. SpongeBob, on the other hand, over tripled his, because 3 times 5 is 15, and he even went past that. He was up to 17. So what should his conclusion be? There's no way to determine if the muscle cream was effective or not. He had a different, I think they probably had the same workout, although he said that he did a special marshmallow weightlifting program. I don't know. It's up to you what you want to write there, but I would think that the first sentence would be enough. There's no way to determine whether the muscle cream was effective or not. And actually, SpongeBob got better results. If you wanted to write at that as well, then that would show that you actually did look at the data, right? Okay, and problem number 4. Scroll down and pull that one. The microwave miracle. So, in the microwave miracle story, it says that Patrick believes that fish that eat food exposed to microwaves will become smarter and would be able to swim through a maze faster. He decides to perform an experiment by placing fish food in a microwave for 20 seconds. He has the fish swim through a maze and records the time it takes for each one to make it to the end. He feeds the special food to 10 fish and gives regular food to the other 10, and after 1 week he has the fish swim through the maze again and records the times for each. So in the box on the left-hand side, you see the special food group and the times in minutes and seconds. And fish number 1, he shaved off 6/100ths of a minute or a second. 6/100ths of a second. That's not a whole lot. Fish number 2 dropped by over half a minute, right? Dropped by 30.34 or 34 seconds rather. So yeah, those are seconds. I'm sorry. So number 1 shaved off 6 seconds. Number 2 shaved off 34 and so forth. I don't see anybody in the first group that got, oh, I do too. Number 7 was actually slower. He took longer to go through the maze. But the rest of them dropped either a little bit or just a second or two. Some of them dropped by several seconds. In the regular group, you see, number 3 added time. Number 8, he took longer the second time after he'd been eating the regular food. So what was Patrick's hypothesis to begin with? He thought if he did what? If he microwaved their food, they would become smarter, and that smarter would then translate to being faster going through a maze. Okay, so I think I'm going to re-record this. I just put a different recording on here a second ago. I realized that I kind of messed this last slide up. But after reading the story about Patrick and how he believes that the fish, if they eat the food, if they're exposed to microwaves, are going to become smarter, looking at the data that he took before and after they ate the food, one group eating regular food and the other group eating microwaved food, his hypothesis was that if they were fed microwaved food, they would be smarter, right? So the control group, remember, is the one that you're using to compare, and the control group are the fish that ate regular food. You're testing the effect of the microwaved food, so that means that the microwaved food is the independent variable. The dependent variable is the time that it takes for the fish to swim through the maze. Now the question is, what should Patrick's conclusion be? Does it look like maybe the fish are learning how to swim through the maze regardless of what they're eating? Because if you look at the times, you see that most of the fish were faster the second time, regardless of what they ate. I think 3 of them overall added a few seconds, but I don't think that that's something that would be considered significant. So maybe he would need to run this test a little longer, maybe have them swim through different mazes, different ways to change it to see if the effect of microwaving the food really did make a difference. So tomorrow you'll have an article that you're going to read, and on Friday we're going to do an activity similar to this one again using these characters in some different scenes, different stories. And I'm going to ask you to be able to answer the questions more independently on Friday. But hopefully if you have any questions, you'll let me know, and I'll be happy to get back in touch with you. So take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.